first of all, just thank you very much for talking with us today.
Well, you're very welcome. My pleasure.
How would you introduce yourself to the students? How would you describe yourself and your work here at the center?
Well, I'm Darman Rice, and I'm a retired historian of philosophy and historian of early modern science, who I've been practicing Zen here for 23 years. Started practicing here almost when the center was first founded by Sensei Graf over in her house further down on Thomas Road. And I'm retired now, and I have a lot of time to work at the center. I'm not doing much different from what I did before, just more of it. Since I was ordained in 2009, and since I described the difference between being ordained and just practicing as a layperson as the difference between, for me anyway, the difference between living with somebody and getting married.
Oh, really?
So that I've sort of gotten married to the Sangha.
Yeah. And you're also married in real life.
I'm married in real life, and I live with my wife in Westford, Vermont, in a house that we built with our own hands a number of years ago. Have a daughter and a son, and 3 grandkids, 2 granddaughters, who are now, one's in college and one's about to be in college, and I don't feel like I should have grandchildren that old,
right.
but there
But
it is.
we do. And let's see, what initially attracted you to practice of Zen Buddhism? Because you have quite an experience with philosophy and religion. Were you raised in a religious family?
Well, my family wasn't very religious, actually, although there were on both sides. My mother's father was a Presbyterian missionary in Egypt, taught Arabic and at the American University in Cairo for years, was a linguist, and my father's father was a Methodist preacher in Detroit. So, I mean, I have Protestant
roots.
Evangelicals and missionaries on both sides. I came to Zen, I suppose, as most people do, out of my own suffering, really. I had been taken with Buddhism as an undergraduate even, and in graduate school I didn't do much at all. I didn't study Buddhism at all. But then when my first job that I had teaching at the what's now Western Connecticut State University, I taught in a humanities core program there, and I'm embarrassed to say now that I actually taught about Buddhism, but not out of any experience, just out of book learning. And one of the things that as I said, that brought me to Buddhism was the fact that I was having a lot of trouble in my life at the time, or as a consequence of my having become divorced from my first wife and having lost my job at the University of Vermont, largely as a result of my active opposition to the war in Vietnam, getting arrested and conduct unbecoming, as it was characterized. I effectively lost my teaching career for 15 years and only got back to it gradually. I taught part-time, but didn't get back to academic life full-time for 15 years. And I gave myself 6 months to recover from all of that at the time, and I found myself a decade later a very angry young man, and it was partly that anger, which was self-destructive and dysfunctional at the very least, that brought me to spiritual practice, to Buddhism, and still working on it.
So it sounds like you were a little on the desperate side when you came to Buddhism? I
Well-
mean, you took refuge in a...
And Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha,
Yes.
yes, and the
Yeah.
three treasures. Well, people don't usually come to Zen practice because everything is hunky-dory. I mean, Zen practice is very difficult. In fact, one of the things I've always loved about Zen Buddhism in particular, about Buddhism generally, is that we don't proselytize. We don't try to make converts. Zen practice is very difficult. It's difficult even if you're pursuing it single-mindedly and wholeheartedly, let alone if you don't feel inclined to it. There's not much reason to try to convert somebody to it because they wouldn't pursue it. They wouldn't be able to continue it. The energy for that ultimately comes from inside us. And so, I mean, there's that aspect of it. It was my own trying to overcome my own anger and unhappiness that brought me to Zen. And I'm very happy to say that I won't say that I'm completely free of anger, ignorance, and greed, but working on it definitely, and the practice in that sense saved my life. I mean, it saved my life for energy on the positive side of things, to speak in observation.